Hello everyone, it's Dr. Mikey Mewborn here. Today I want to talk to you about my MidAmerica story. And what I mean by that is I want to answer the question, how did you end up attending classes and getting degrees from MidAmerica Baptist Theological Seminary? It all begins in Tampa, Florida. I was attending a church called First Baptist Church of Tampa. Now, this church was so unusual. It actually had a bowling alley at the lowest level of the church. Is that not crazy? It had a bowling alley in there. I think it was like 4 or 5 lanes, something like that. They also had a lot of roller skating there because their gym was set up in such a way that they had roller skating certain nights. So that was kind of different as well. But First Baptist Church was set right on a major road, right off the highway, and so a lot of people knew about this large church, but they also knew about it because it had been there for so long. Now, when I think about this church, and I remember back, I ended up going there because my best friend said, hey, you should go to this church. I think there's a lot of pretty girls there. So I ended up going to this church, but what happened while I was there was so significant. One Sunday night, a group of singers from New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary came to sing at the church. I was probably 15 or 16 years old at the time. I heard them sing. They were amazing. They sang a cappella, or a lot of the songs were a cappella, and I love that type of music, and so I enjoyed that. Then they started speaking and preaching and teaching and sharing how God had called them to the ministry and how they had done so many things around the country. And so I loved that, and I thought, if I ever end up going to seminary, I want to go to New Orleans. And so that's what I thought, right? So fast forward, I'm in my early 20s, and I know God's calling me to the ministry. I've talked about this in a previous video, but I knew He had called me into the ministry. I just didn't know what that would look like. At this time, I started going to Davis Islands Baptist Church, which is in the South Tampa area. As I'm attending this church, I asked the pastor to sit down and talk with me about seminary because I knew he went to seminary. And I said, Pastor Jeff, I'm planning on going to seminary and I'm planning on going to New Orleans. And he said, why are you going to go to New Orleans? And I said, well, that's the only school I know about. And he said, I think you should reconsider. I think you should look at going to MidAmerica. And I said, why? He said, well, that's where I went to school. And I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and so I went to Bellevue Baptist Church, which is a large church in Memphis, and I said, okay, so, well, I'd like to check it out. He said, let's do a day trip. So we left early in the morning. One morning, it was during the week, and left Tampa, flew into Memphis, spent the day looking at Bellevue Baptist Church, doing a tour of that incredible church. Then we went to lunch, and then we went to meet with Dr. Michael Spradlin, who's the president of MidAmerica. And it was an incredible visit. And I remembered several things come out of that meeting that I thought, this is exactly what I'm looking for. One of the things that Dr. Spradlin said to me very strongly is that we believe in Bible evangelism, missions, and the Word of God is our focus. And I said, awesome. And he said, we have a thing here called practical missions, where we really get out there and share our faith with other people. We believe you don't just study to know about the Bible. We believe that you study the Bible to practice it, to live it out. And when he said that to me, it made a lot of sense. I don't want to just be a theoretical Christian or ideological Christian, or just an intellectual Christian. I want to be a practical one. I wanted to be one that had the knowledge, but had the practice as well. And he said, we not only set you up with different sites that you can be a part of to do ministry, evangelistic ministry, but also we're going to set you up and we're going to prepare you to go share your faith. And so there's personal evangelism classes that are set up so that you can take the gospel to anybody and you can start a conversation with them, and we'll train you how to do that. And by the way, you have to share the gospel once a week with one person at least, and taking them through the full gospel. So in a semester of 15, 16 weeks, you're going to share the gospel 15 or 16 times. And I was so excited about that. I was challenged by it, and I was nervous, and I was scared, and all those types of things. But I knew it was right because it's the great commandment, right? It's the great commission to go and take the gospel to the world. And what they're doing at MidAmerica, they were holding their feet to the fire and saying, "Go and do this," because it's not only right and it's biblical, but man, Christ is in this, and Christ is strengthening you and empowering you to do it. So let's go win people to Jesus Jesus Christ, and I know that Dr. Spradlin is a soul winner, and so I was excited. So I got on the plane that night, went home, and I went and slept on it. And so Pastor Jeff told me, he said, just sleep on it, just think about it. You've seen MidAmerica, you've seen their heart, you know what they're all about. Just think on it, just work through it in your mind. And it was probably a couple of weeks later that I was driving along. It's funny how God calls me when I'm driving, and I can give you a lot of stories how he does that, how he's done that in my life. But I was driving along in my truck. I had this F-150 Ford pickup truck that was jacked up on these big tires. You know, I don't know why, just a lot of mud in Florida, I guess. And so I had this truck, right? And so I'm driving along, and I just felt the Lord tell me, pull over. And he called me to the ministry this way, but he also called me to MidAmerica this way. And I just felt like the Lord calling me to pull over, pulled over, and I just began to pray. I said, God, if I'm supposed to go to MidAmerica, let me know. And that day, he gave me such a peace, and I knew it's where I was supposed to be. So fast forward going to MidAmerica, I tell you, I have learned not only so much about the Word of God and how to study the Word of God, of course, the languages, and as far as pastoral ministry and systematic theology and all those types of things. But I've learned a key to all of it is putting it into practice. What is theology if it can't be practiced, or if it's not practiced? And so that has meant the world to me. I'm so grateful for MidAmerica. I encourage everyone to check out this outstanding school, seminary, and college. Hey, it's good to be with you today. God bless you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.